This is an extract from the Leader podcast by the Evening Standard. The whole thing is available on all major podcast providers.
The days of charity comic relief, sending celebrities like Stacey, Dooley and Ed Sheeran to Africa, are over. Using stars visiting poverty-stricken nations to make emotional appeals for donations had been criticised as white saviorism and unhelpful. Now, for Red Nose Day next year, the charity says it will instead hire local filmmakers and photographers to offer what they say will be a more authentic perspective. Executive Director of anti-poverty charity War on Want, Asad Rehman, says it's a welcome move. He joins me. Asad, when people talk about what was wrong with Comic Relief's approach, they often use the term white saviour. What does that mean?
White saviour is this idea that, these, whether it's celebrities or individuals, they are there to rescue these people of colour, people across Africa, Asia, Latin America, from their situation. And often the story is actually about this white saviour's journey, and the focus is about them, and it's their story, and they become the heroes. So it's less about, hearing the voices of the local people, of local leaders, of local organisations who have the solutions. So it's a question about who sits at the heart and the centre of this story, and who is the attention on. So that's in a very sort of short way of explaining what the white saviour complex is. But it actually goes and speaks to a much bigger issue, which is, people are generally, of course, very generously putting their hands in their pockets to give to really worthwhile causes, including Comic Relief, who do really important projects. But, it often, relies on using images which are really outdated. Some people call them poverty porn. The classic picture of the starving children with big eyes looking out of you, with no context, no social or political context of why poverty exists. It's simply that they become an empty image. And so the story is not really about them. They become the accessory to a story which is really about the celebrity themselves.
These people, they likely have good intentions, but is their approach actually encouraging people to donate or to help productively?
Well, I think in the long run they don't. Of course, look, the reason why they're used is often charities see them as very effective ways of pulling at the heartstring, of using the profile of these celebrities to generate income. But, I think there's a question in terms of when people give to charity, they don't want to see these outdated approaches, which are often racially demeaning or exploitative. What they want to see is, they expect the sector to do better. They expect the sector to explain, why does poverty exist? How can we solve it? And what is our role of people here in the UK who are giving generously in that? It's a part of a much bigger question now that faces the charity sector and the aid organisations, which is that the public want this information, especially when we've seen the spotlight of the Black Lives Matter this year, the scandals of Me Too. The public expect the sector to be doing better.
Do you welcome Comic Relief's move away from sending celebrities to Africa?
Absolutely, and I think it's great to see that Comic Relief has listened to all of those voices and has made this decision. I have to say it's been a long time coming. 20 years ago, War on Want was one of the lead organisations, together with our partners in the Global South, calling on the sector, to agree code of conduct, to stop using, images that fueled prejudice in their depiction of the Global South. And what's largely been lacking is leadership in the charity sector to put forward those sort of structural changes that put the communities and their voices and demands at the heart of its work. And so Comic Relief, I think, now making this decision, I think is really important signifier because it's such a well-known brand. It plays such an important role within fundraising and giving each year. And of course, it's very public role with the BBC. So I think it's a very, very important signifier, but it's not the end. I think we have got a long way still to go in the sector.
So do you think celebrities still have a role to play?
Celebrities do have a role. And I think that it's very important look, they should be using their platforms and voices to not only ask for donations, but they should be using their platforms to share the voices of global South communities and their calls to act, right? And their calls not only to act, but their solutions. And they should be pointing people here in this country, who listen to celebrities about what they can do, how they can be part of the solution. And that means addressing the drivers of those injustices. They should be pointing out the policies of our governments and companies that create the poverty and inequalities that we see around the world, and not simply just asking for donations. So in the morning they might be promoting a brand name, and in the afternoon they ask for charitable giving. I think that's not telling the true story of poverty, and celebrities are not using effectively their voice to deliver real change, and that's what they should be doing.